Hello, you're about to watch a video. It's going to take a little bit over an hour, depending on how fast I talk today. This is going to be a practice of a presentation that's going to be given at the NEOPC meeting on August 13th. The topic is going to be backup. And it's something that I've been talking about for quite some time. As I started to put this presentation together, I realized it couldn't be totally complete as a presentation. And once again, Microsoft is at the bottom of our little dilemma here. Every operating system that they've created since XP, Vista 7, 8, and 8.1 performs image and data backup differently. For no particular reason. I don't think that they've improved it any. They've just changed it. So the way the presentation is structured, we're going to talk generally about what backups are, how they're done. There will be some videos to give you an idea of how they're done. And then there will be links to all of the specific backup procedures for XP, Vista 7, 8, 8.1. In addition, all of this is going to be available on the NEOPC forum. So you'll be able to go on the forum and look at this video again, look at the presentation if you want to. All the links will be organized so that you can go directly to those web pages and study them in depth if you need to. In addition, there's going to be a lot of other things available as far as information on viruses, information on software that will help you with backup, information on hardware that you might need to do backup. And again, all that's going to be on the forum so that you will be able to listen to the presentation, take some brief notes if you want. Areas that you're interested in, you can then go to the forum and study them more in depth if you need to. Backup really is not that mysterious. It just needs to be done. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into this presentation. Thanks for taking the time to look at it. I hope it's helpful to you. Well, you're about to see a run through of the presentation that is going to be made for NEOPC August the 13th. The title of the presentation is Backup. I'm Bruce Brockman, and I'm going to be the presenter. And I also have been telling everyone at NEOPC that backup is urgent and important. This presentation is going to go through backup from the very beginning to the end, and yet it's going to be very basic and hopefully very understandable for everyone. So here we go with backup. This program will be brought to you based on KISS. No, there will not be any rock music. It is keep it simple, simple. That's the reason that most people don't do backups. It can be very complicated if you let it. And people start down the road and hit the wall and stop. So we're going to try and give you a ladder to get over that wall. So what are you trying to back up? And the answer is just ones and zeros. And like the thermos bottle, how do it know? And there's all kinds of things to do with this structure and geometrical sectors and track sectors and clusters, and you don't need to worry about any of that. You don't have to think about it, know about it. It's not part of this presentation. But the reality is that's what we're backing up, the ones and zeros that are stored on your computer, on a hard disk. And something else you don't have to know, which can get confusing, and that's usually where people stop when they start getting asked about partitions and sectors and all of that sort of thing. You don't have to know any of that, unless you want to. Backup. You know you should. If you don't, but how? And there are lots of different ways to do this. And we're going to try and give you a brief, and I mean brief, summary of most of them. And we're going to do just the very basics because Microsoft, and this program is primarily focused on Microsoft. But from XP to Vista to 7 to 8 to 8.1, it's all slightly different. The fellows at Microsoft are earning their money by changing things. And even though the basic principles have stayed the same, the screens have changed and the buttons you push have changed, and it all looks slightly different. So we can't give you just one presentation for backup. It has to be about the individual operating systems, and we're not going to cover them all in this presentation. But I've included links to specific information for XP, Vista, 7, 8, 8.1. And this presentation is going to be available at the NEOPC forum online, and you'll be able to click on those links and read in depth how they apply to the operating system that you're using. We're also going to talk briefly about Android, cell phones, tablets, that type of thing. So why should you back up if you don't already know? If your hard drive goes and you don't have a backup, there is no help. So hard drives have malfunctions and they get destroyed. Fires, floods, tornadoes, lost. A variety of things can happen to a hard drive. And if you don't have a backup, you've lost all your data. And they can be individual files and folders, a variety of things that you have stored on your computer. Other reasons that you lose hard drives due to malware, viruses, and the most current thing, ransomware. Some ugly stuff, and if you get the wrong version of this, unless you have a backup, you've probably lost everything. You ever looked inside your computer? I've seen some that look like this. When you collect enough dirt and dust and things inside of a computer, they generate an awful lot of heat. And heat is what destroys hard drives. And you can bet that the hard drive in this computer, if it hasn't already crashed, is going to shortly. That needs to be another topic altogether, though, about how to clean the inside of a computer. You can do more harm than good if you aren't careful with what you're doing. And the idea is not to let them get to this point. And that's what a hard drive looks like after someone's taken to it with a hammer or taken it apart to see what was wrong with it, which, unless you're a forensic computer person, there is no sense. So, what are the types of backup that you can do? A complete backup. And we're talking everything on your computer. And there basically is the clone type, which means it's an exact copy of your hard drive and everything in the position that it is on your hard drive, including all the open areas on your hard drive. It's an exact copy of it, and it has to be put on a hard drive basically equal in size to the hard drive you're trying to clone. The other type of complete one is called a system image. And again, this is a complete copy of everything that's on your hard drive, but it's put into a single file. And it has to be restored based on a software program that can use that file to put it back on a hard drive. And we have partial backups, and these are backups of only the individually chosen items, and they can be your individual data, the operating system, registry, drivers, a variety of things can be backed up individually. And the types, you have incremental. And incremental means it's keeping a copy only of what has changed since the last backup. And then you can have a differential, which is a complete backup of everything new and old. So when you're doing a restore, if you're restoring an incremental backup, that means you have to do however many times the machine has been backed up since the last complete backup. You'd have to do that many restores in order to restore the computer. With a differential, it's a one-time restore. Clear as mud, right? You don't have to worry about these things. But again, as you read through and as you're run into things you're trying to do a backup, you need to have some idea of what they're talking about. What items do you back up? And all these ones and zeros, you have to figure out which ones you want to back up. You can back up the system, which is what it takes to make the computer run, which is your operating system and your drivers and registry and a variety of other technical things. You can back up just the drivers only. Drivers are what make things attached to your computer operate. So whether it's a printer or a webcam, even disk drives have to have drivers in order for them to operate. And there's a whole section in your computer that takes care of drivers. Registry, and the registry tells the computer what to do, when to do it, how to do it. If the registry is not working properly, the computer will not work properly. And you can back up the registry individually. Personal data, and that's what most of you are concerned with, although these other things need to be done, but just not as frequently. The personal data are your pictures and your emails and anything that you have created that you want to keep. Emails. Your browser, and most people don't think of backing up their browser, but a lot of people have unique settings as well as a lot of bookmarks, and you'd be lost without them. So doing a quick backup is not a bad thing. Software and their keys. This is something that you don't do with software. You have to individually keep, if you have hard disks, you need to make sure that you store them in a place to where they're safe and you can get at them and you remember where they are, and keep the key to using that software with it. It's also not a bad idea to make copies of these things using software. Make a copy of the disk and write down the key numbers in some other place, preferably like KeyPass. Social media. Not being a big social media person myself, I could care less, but there are some people that their lives revolve around their Facebook and Twitter and whatever. And there are indeed special programs to back up all that information so that if you have a computer crash, you don't lose it. What else do you need to back up? Well, you need to back up your cell phone. A lot of people keep a lot of things on their cell phone. Pictures. Probably the most important thing they keep there is an address book. And if your address book was gone, how long would it take you to rebuild it? In most cases, a very long time. And today, tablets are becoming just as important as cell phones. This is personal preference. I think you should sync these things, synchronize these things to your PC, to your notebook or your desktop. And that means keeping the same files in both places. And there are indeed, for Android, this is just some of the various individual programs that allow you to sync your Android, either cell phone or tablet. If you have an iPhone or iPad, one of the things that Apple does a very good job at is automatically keeping things in sync, basically through the cloud. But they do a very good job. But if you're not using an Apple computer or Apple iPhone, then you have to be concerned with doing it in another manner. Windows, as we heard in an earlier presentation at NEOPC, is working on trying to get cell phones, tablets, and PCs all running the same operating system and storing information in the same place, which takes care of the syncing, obviously. But again, ulterior motives for both Apple and Microsoft there to get you to buy their products. And if you choose Android, then you have to have another way to get it done. Evernote is a wonderful program. People that use it love it, that understand it anyhow. It allows you to, with a click, keep web pages and emails and pictures and everything in specific folders that you generate from any device that you're using and access them from any device that you're using. Worth a look for those that aren't familiar with Evernote. On the cloud, probably the best, and again, personal opinion, I use it, works out fine for me, is a program called Dropbox, and you can, things that you think are important that you would need on the road or that you want to back up from your cell phone, your tablets, whatever, you can put on Dropbox, and therefore you can access them from anywhere in the world, from any device that has access to the internet, and assuming that you can remember your username and password. And there are software solutions. This is some of the Android backup software available through Google Play. So, where do you put these backups that you create? The answer is you can put them on an internal drive, as long as it's a second hard drive. You don't want to put them on the same hard drive that you're trying to back up. If something happens to that drive, you've lost the drive and the backup. So you need a secondary hard drive if you're going to do it internally. And in cases of fires, floods, theft, any other kind of accident, probably not a good idea. But there are people that do it that way. External, and you have choices there. An external hard drive, and it can be, there are a variety of these available, depending on how much information you have to back up would probably determine the choice that you make there. A DVD burner, and most of you have a burner as part of either your notebook or your desktop. Today, the software people are not using memory very judiciously, so the programs are very bloated and have a lot of extra stuff in there, and they don't worry about condensing anything. So backups are in the hundreds of gigs anymore, which makes DVDs where you can only write, well, it depends on whether you're using dual layer or not, but either 4 or 8 gigs of information per, and if you need to do 200 gigs, you do the math, you'll be there a long time. It can be done that way, and your original image should probably be done that way, and then stored safely somewhere away from your computer. But it's possible to do it that way. On disk, Blu-rays are becoming popular, and a Blu-ray, again, depending, there are different versions and whatever, but from 35 to 50 gigabytes makes it much more doable to back up a computer using a Blu-ray player, writer. You can do them on a thumb drive, and again, depending on your system and how much you need to back up, thumb drives in 64 and 128 gig today are not terribly expensive. Makes them very portable, easy to store, easy to protect. Certainly viable for some people. On the cloud, and lots of controversy there. I back up some things on the cloud, other things I don't. Personal preference. Cloud storage cost-wise versus hard drive. I'm going to include a link to a page in here where they talk about those kinds of things. Clouds are indeed fairly secure, and fairly is probably an unfair word. They're probably very secure. They can get expensive because deleting things off the cloud, changing things on the cloud, they make it difficult because they want to sell you more space because that's how they make money. So pluses and minuses for the cloud. A network drive, if you're connected to a network, and you could have a home network that has a drive on it, I do. You could indeed back up to that network drive. Again, if you're doing these things at home, things you need to think about are fire and that sort of thing, and you would probably lose not only the drive you're trying to back up, but the backups unless you have a external hard drive that's stored in a fireproof box, which I do. So, most people would truly be lost without their computer, cell phone, or tablet. Doctor's appointments, address books, Christmas list, you name it, it's stored there, and if you don't have it backed up and you lose it, people get very distraught. So, when do you do a backup? And the image or clone, you need to do that whenever you get a new machine. You need to get an image of it and or clone it, which is the way it comes from the factory. And in most cases, Windows will bug you to do it as you're running Windows for the first time. I would say that less than 30% of the people actually do that. It takes a little while and typically is done at that point with DVDs, although I did a couple recently for some friends with thumb drives. That way you can, if anything ever goes wrong with that hard drive, at least take it back to the factory. You could do a clone at that point, maybe. Then from then on, you would make an image, and you can get debate on this all day long. After you install most of the programs that you're going to have on that machine, and most of the hardware you have on that machine, it's time to make another image, a complete image that will include all the new drivers and new software and all of that information, and store that somewhere separately. And that's a good time at that point, if you're going to clone, to go ahead and clone the machine also. Keeping both is not a bad idea. I do. Data. Data backup depends, again, on the individual. If you're creating a lot of things every day, then you need to back up every day. And again, there are some automatic backup programs, and they run seamlessly in the background, so why not take advantage of them? I don't think you need to back things up every hour. Most programs that you're working on have an automatic backup set, so you aren't going to lose things 10 minutes down the road. Preference on data is an individual thing, anywhere from daily, weekly, to monthly. But again, with automatic programs, certainly daily can't hurt. Now again, I'm recommending that you keep your external drive disconnected from your computer because of ransomware. In ransomware, if you happen to get that virus, that malware in your computer, it will indeed encrypt everything that's attached to it, including cloud. So you need to be cognizant of that, and automatic backups have to have the media attached to the computer in order to do it. So something you need to think about and make some personal decisions on. Drivers and registry. Most people don't ever back these up. They are not that difficult to do. The chances you're going to need individually either one of these is probably slim. On the other hand, to take the 10 minutes it takes to do it and put it with your image or your data or your clone, why not? Makes sense to me. Email, browser, and social media. Email, there are specific programs to back up your email. Depends on whether your email has important things in it or not, whether you're going to want to back it up. Again, these are easy pieces of software. You need to be cognizant to run those. You can set Windows up to automatically run them, but again, the media has to be attached to the computer if you're going to do an auto. Your browser settings and bookmarks and so on, I back mine up. Social media, again, depending, this is a personal thing, I don't. Software and keys, I keep all mine in a specific place, and I do have copies of everything that are kept in a separate place. Never a bad idea, and that if you have a crash at some point and the only image you have is your factory image, you need all of these things to get back to the complete system that you have today. So, Microsoft has built in programs that can do a lot of these things. Not all of them, but a lot of these things. And if they're giving it to you for free and it's included as part of your operating system, most people are inclined to use it. The problem being with this presentation is it's different for XP, Vista 7, and 8.8.1. Everyone is slightly different, so I'm not going to show you how to do each one individually. I'm going to point you to some articles. The links to these articles are available on the NEOPC forum. You can go there anytime you want and look at specifically for your machine. Additionally, in order to find those, there are some PDFs there that have lists of all of the links that are in this presentation, of which there are close to 100, and they're put in an order so that you can find them. So the first thing we're going to talk about is create a system image using Microsoft. And this is the first one that there's going to be a link to, and this is how you can create an image, backup image in Vista and in XP. And the article goes into, at length, into both operating systems separately to tell you how to do that. And then there is another link to this article that says how to create a system image in Windows 7 or Windows 8. And again, it goes specifically individually into 7 and 8 and explains how to do it. And this link is there so that you can find it. So you're using a Microsoft backup, create a system image, and now I'm going to show you a quick how-to video from YouTube. And this one is for Windows 7.
Welcome to PC Woods Kids Tech Talk. Today we're looking at a Windows tutorial on how to create a Windows system backup image and a repair disk. I'm using Windows 7 today for this tutorial, and it's quite simple actually. You just click on Start, and in the search field you type in backup, and it will give you a link called Backup and Restore here at the top. Click on that link, and it will open up the window of the utility to create a system image. So you can see here on the left-hand side, it says Create a System Image. So click on that, and then you can select the drive that you want to back up and the drive where you want to save the system image. Now, system image means backing everything up on the drive, and I mean everything, not just the Windows, but all your data, everything. So, for example, I have a C drive that is basically pretty full, and it's about 71 gigs used up right now, and I've got an E drive that I can back things up onto because it's got 200 gigs free, so that's great. You could back things up onto DVDs if you want. It'll take a while, but you do have the option. Preferably back things up onto an external drive, okay, if you have one, or a secondary drive in your machine. So here's the C drive that I'm backing up, 71 gigs used. There's the total size. And, of course, wherever you back this up onto, you need to make sure that there's enough space on there. You can't back it up onto the same drive where you are currently trying to make an image from, because, you know, if that drive goes down, then obviously you can't restore from that drive. So make sure you back up your system image onto a different drive, okay? Now, after you've followed through these screens, the next thing that I recommend you do after you've done the system image backup is to create a system repair disk. Okay, so this system repair disk will allow you to boot up your machine and repair or restore the system image in case you have to. Okay, so create a system image repair disk right there. Click on that link. Put in a blank DVD in your DVD writable drive, and let it burn the and create the disk for you. Okay, that bootable disk. So that's only in the worst case scenario. If you really need to use that disk, you can restore things from there, restore the whole entire system image. And here are the different options. I booted up the CD, and you can see the menu of different options in Windows 7 here to restore from. The third one is System Image Recovery. So that one basically would ask you for your drive where you backed up. In my case, I would have backed up a 71 gig system image, and it would ask for the location for that. It would find it and then take its time, of course, to restore the whole thing back. So that's basically a safety precaution in case you're wondering how to do it. Quick video. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.
Additionally, in this video, you're going to see how to create a repair disk in Windows 7. Again, there are going to be links on how to do it in the other operating systems also. Okay, and again, there will be a link to that video on the forum in this presentation folder. So, now, using Microsoft to back up, create data backup, how to back up your personal things that you want to keep. So, an article specifically for XP. There's one specifically for Vista. This one deals with Windows 7. And, of course, we need one for Windows 8 and 8.1. They are all slightly different. In Bill Gates' infinite wisdom. Also, I thought I would include this. Not often do you get free things from Microsoft, so we included some additional information on how to transfer things from XP to other machines, and a link to Microsoft's free software Sync Toy, which does allow you to sync with various pieces of handheld equipment using Microsoft operating systems or between two computers. So that also is included in here, and the link to that. Okay, we're going to use the Microsoft systems to create a data backup. And once again, the example is going to be for Windows 7.
Welcome to your ButterscotchCom tutorial on how to backup files in Windows 7 using the built-in backup and restore. So here in Windows 7, we'll click Start, Control Panel, When the control panel comes up, click on System and Security. Now you can go about it a couple different ways. I like to click on Action Center. You can also click on Backup and Restore. I click on Action Center because I can see recovery, I can see other options here, and here's Backup and Restore. You can see there's a backup that's been done. You can click here to turn on a schedule. So we'll click that. So it does it every day at 11 p.m. You can change the settings. So it starts up Windows Backup. Now Windows Backup has come up and is asking us where we want to save our backup. I'm going to pick our backup drive. You can also save to a DVD, external hard drives. Select where you want to store your backup, and then click Next. Now you can let Windows choose what files it backs up, or you could choose. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to click a few little things. You can see here, if you want, you can include a system image of drive C. The system image includes everything. So now it's giving us a review of what we're going to back up. Click here and we'll save our settings and exit. And if you want, you can click Backup Now and Back Up. You see here it shows you how much space is available on the drive where you're backing up to, when the next backup is scheduled, when the last backup occurred, the contents, schedule, so you get a complete overview of your backup. And should you need to restore, you would restore from here. So this is backing up files in Windows 7 with the built-in backup and restore, and that's all.
Okay, our next little video is going to be on backing up Outlook, how to back up Outlook, and many of you use Outlook for your email. This will show you how to do it and how to automatically do it, and using Karen's Replicator, which is absolutely one of my favorite little programs. So both of these things are covered in this next short little video.
Hello, this is Mark with HowToWindows.com. Check out our website for the latest tips and guides. Today I'm going to show you how to automatically back up your PSD files in Outlook. Each PSD file contains all of your folders, such as your calendar, inbox, and tasks. This can be a very helpful thing to back up if the computer ever has a problem and you needed some of the information. You will need to download and install a program called Karen's Replicator. It is a free program. I have a link in the description. You will get a window like this one. What you will have to do is click on Edit Settings. Now click on New Job. Now you will need to find your PSD file. To locate it, it is under the username and My Documents in a folder called Outlook Files. Select the folder, then press OK. If you need the exact directory, then here it is. Now you will need to choose a destination drive. I recommend a flash drive or external hard drive. Select the drive and computer and either make a new folder like I did, or put it straight on the drive. Now you can choose what type of files you want to back up in the folder you have selected. Let's leave it at All Files. Now create a job name for future reference. Then press Save Job. Then click Save Changes and Close. Now open Task Scheduler. You can find it under Search and type in Scheduler or Task Scheduler. Click on Action on the top and press Create Task. Enter a name for the task, and for description, you can leave it blank. Under Triggers, press New. Leave it on a schedule, and since I am doing this weekly, I'm going to select Weekly, then choose a day of the week. Now I'm going to choose a time in the middle of the day, but it is important to remember what time you used. Press OK when you are done choosing the time. Now go to the Actions tab and create a new action. Leave it as Start a Program, then press Browse. Now follow me as I get to the .exe. Go to Computer, then C, then Program Data, Microsoft, Windows, Start menu, Programs, Karen's Power Tools, then click Replicator. Press Open and OK. You will not need any conditions or settings. Press OK. Now let's go back to the replicator. Select the job you created and click Edit Settings. Then double-click the words in blue. At the bottom, click on Change Schedule. Change the days to 7 if you wanted to do it weekly. Then go to the time slot and make sure the AM PM is correct. Then make this time at least 2 minutes after the time and task scheduler. Then pick a day. Press Save, then save changes and close. Then press Exit, check the checkbox, and press Exit again. That's it, you're done. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe.
Okay, backup. Our next little short video is going to be how to back up Firefox and Thunderbird. Two of my favorite programs. Some of you use them, some of you don't. This particular program that we're going to talk about, Mo's Backup, will also do anything that is written by Mozilla, including Sunbird and some of the other programs that they write. So without further ado, here is that short little video.
Hi guys, in this video I'll be showing you a great piece of free software that allows you to transfer your entire Firefox configuration to a new system. This is great if you're going to be transferring computers and don't want to reinstall all the Firefox add-ons again. You can get it from this site right up here. Then you just download the installer program. Once you get that installed, you need to run it. It's called Mo's Backup. You can just search for it in the start menu. And you get a screen that looks like this. You want to click Next. Here you have the options to backup profile or restore profile. You want to backup profile. So you click Firefox at the bottom, or you can even use Thunderbird or any other Mozilla product. You want to back up the default profile. In most cases, that'll be the only one you have. Now you want to browse to where you want to save it, name it. I'll call it Firefox Backup. Then just click Next. You have the option to password protect the file. I don't want to, so I'll click No. And here you have the option to back up general settings, bookmarks, history, user styles, extensions, saved passwords, cookies, saved from details, the downloaded files list, and certificates, and even unknown files such as all of these. So you just click Next, and it will start. I'm not going to follow through with this because it will take some time, so I'll just click Cancel. So I'll show you the restore feature, how to do that. So you just want to search for Mo's Backup. Click Next. Now you want to restore a profile. Select Firefox or Thunderbird. Select the default profile. Then browse to where your backup was. Mine was on my desktop. And just click Next. Now you have the option to restore all of these. Click Next. I'm not going to because I have my Firefox the way I want it and don't want to redo this. So you basically get the idea. If you're on a new computer, just reinstall this program and click Restore. It's as easy as that. So thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please comment, rate, and subscribe.
Okay, now we need to get into some other things about using Microsoft to back up. How do you restore the system image once you have it and you need it? We have several people that have found themselves in a quandary on how to do that. So, in their typical style, Microsoft has decided to make it different for every one of their operating systems. This particular link will take you to the XP version. This link will tell you how to do it in Vista. This one is in Windows 7. And finally, there it is specifically for Windows 8 or 8.1. Which has become very different. And next, rescue and repair. Now these are some of the things that you can do with that disk. We're covering them even though they really aren't totally involved with backup, although when you're making backup disks with Microsoft, you indeed can use them to do these functions. So we have to cover it again individually for the various operating systems. And then you would know how to do all of that. Now, the rescue and restore disk, depending on the operating system, is a necessary part of the restoring of an image, and certainly it is when you're using third-party software. But in the Microsoft system, sometimes it gives you other functionality, and we're going to talk about that just a little bit. And you'll see that they sell these things because they're sometimes so difficult to create one yourself, and in particular for XP. But if your machine can't boot, if it just sits there and does nothing when you turn it on, these disks indeed can boot the system. Now, whether you can recover the system or not is debatable, but in most cases you would be able to get at your data that's stored there if you haven't made a backup, and that's where these become fairly valuable. Although they can also save you having to reinstall everything on your computer, which obviously is a big deal also. Like I say, it's almost impossible to do it in XP. Nothing is ever impossible, and here is a tutorial, and again, there's a link to this on the forum on how to do it. It's probably a little more complicated than most of you would care to get involved in. It's easier to spend the $10 and buy one. But if you're adventurous and want to try it yourself, here's a how-to. And then you need a separate piece of software. And again, I've got the link for all of this. This is the software that will create for XP the bootable disk. Now, for Vista, there is no way to do it. If you don't have the original Windows install disk, you're just out of luck. Because if you can't boot, you can put the Windows disk back in and click on Repair Your Computer, and indeed it will give you an opportunity to try and do that anyhow. In 7, they decided to let you create your own, and this little excuse me, link will tell you how to do that. Not very difficult, and this is all done when you're creating the original image. You should create the repair disk also, and you saw how to do that in one of the earlier videos. And then, of course, Windows 8 is new and improved, maybe, but different for sure. And this one I've included here. There's a link to this page as well as to the software, the free download of it. If you get a really ugly virus that will prevent you, malware that will prevent you from booting your computer, this disk, if you insert it in your computer, will boot the computer, but not into Windows, and then do a virus removal. It'll go out and check for new viruses, etc., and do a virus remove on your computer, which should allow you to boot it. This is a free thing. I got one. Okay, need to smile after all of that. I did, for sure. If that doesn't make you smile, this might. Windows cannot find the file. Would you like some wine instead? I kept looking, yes. Okay, now we're going to get on to software. In addition to the Microsoft software, there is a wide plethora of software out there to do backups and synchronizations and that type of thing. And why would you ask? Is there? Well, Microsoft doesn't do it very well, and if you are going to have, if you have two machines with different systems, you might just be better off to have a piece of software that'll do both. Also, for your data backups, Microsoft can only do one. You can do individual 7 or 8 different kinds with the additional software. So we're going to go briefly through some of what's available out there. Again, these are some that I'm familiar with. There are lots more out there. If you get real serious about backup other than doing with the Microsoft, you might want to explore some of these. Okay, so let's take a look at some of this software. Probably the most famous one is Norton Ghost. They're on version 15 at this point. Something interesting to look at here. No Windows XP. It probably would, but they don't advertise it. It's only rated out of 322 customers that bought it 3 stars, which is not a lot of stars. And as you can see, it's not inexpensive. So, do I own a copy of Norton Ghost? Yes. But where did I buy it? Well, I bought it on eBay. And this is just one page from eBay talking about Norton Ghost. And this one says it's Norton 15. One license, one bid at 99 cents. Here it is again for $10. Those two I would probably just totally disregard. I've been known to buy a version 1 or 2 older, great price, and typically aren't missing a whole lot when you do that. Again, the links to all of these things are going to be on the NEOPC forum. So this one is almost the same thing as Norton Ghost, except it's free. And that certainly is the right price. This one is quite complex. It's a couple 100 megabyte download and can do just about anything that you want to do. A little difficult for most people to deal with. There's a lot of options and things and tabs and buttons and whatever. But a great program, and it is free. Next one is XClone, and they have a freeware, and then they have some paid for different versions of this thing that give you additional functionality and so on. Freeware is decent. This one is highly rated. It's free again. Does an awful lot. Does go back to XP, and they advertise it for XP all the way through 8.1 in both 32 and 64-bit versions. It's not a giant download, 47, 49 megs. Highly thought of by a lot of people. Again, the link's available to you. Drive image, this one is probably touted more than any of the other ones. Yeah, it does some things. The interface on it is a little difficult to deal with. If you're adventurous, give it a look. Here is one of my favorite pieces of software. This one's been around a long time. You can see the last time it was updated was in 2009. It works with XP, Vista 7, and 8. I have it running on all my machines. As you saw in the earlier video, you can schedule things with this, and you can have, I think I've got like 10 or 15 jobs on various computers that I have that back up different files, depending on the frequency that I use the files. And you can run just individual jobs too, if you want to manually run them rather than have them set up automatically. Or you can just, every time you open it, have it run all of the jobs that are there. Very flexible program, does incremental differential, does all kinds of things. If you want, don't have to get that complicated. If you don't want, just say, back up this folder to this folder, and it'll do that. This one, FileFort, is supposedly the best file backup that you can get. Highly, highly rated by everybody. I've used NCH software, a variety of different software programs from them, both paid for and free. This one happens to be a pay for. Don't think you need it, but some people just think it's just great. SyncToy we talked about earlier, a freebie from Microsoft. I had to put it in there twice because it was free from Microsoft. Free file sync, and it is what it says, free, which does just about everything you could want in a file program. This is a sync rather than a backup. More difficult to do the backup function than a sync, which means this folder always looks like that folder. With, like Karen's, you can keep other versions and so on. Again, most people don't need to get that complicated. You need to keep what you are worried about losing. This one is nice because it does work with several operating systems. Another file backup one, and this one is rated highly again, and it is free, so something else to look at. And obviously they're doing well. They're published in a lot of different languages. Links are available to you. And one more, just to have another backup program in there. It's free. GM Vault is for backing up your Gmail. Again, I don't know what email you're using, and you should continue using it. But if you don't have a Gmail account, do yourself a favor and get one. There's just a whole lot of things that Gmail can do for you. I know that Google is keeping an eye on us, but that's all right. There's some real benefits to having a Gmail account, and this program backs up your Gmail account, which is a good thing to do. This one backs up Instagram for those of you that are big fans of that particular program. Social Safe. Now this one costs money, but I believe it's $6.95 a year for up to 4 different social media, like Twitter and Facebook and so on. Which is not a lot of money, and by far and away is rated, Social Safe is rated as the top backup program for social media. And now we get into some driver programs. And again, you need to run this after you've got your computer set pretty much the way you want it, and then if you add additional hardware to it or change your hardware, probably not a bad idea to create another driver file. This one's free. This one costs money. This one is interesting that I do believe there was a free version. I'm not sure if there still is or not. But once you have this thing, it automatically looks at all your drivers and will give you a list of all the ones that need updating. And you can click on to update it, and it goes out, finds the driver, and installs it for you. Which is, installing drivers sometimes can be a little bit of an issue. So, useful program. And here we're talking about the backup of Outlook. There's a link here also that gives you a second look at Outlook and what's there and how you can do different things with it. For those of you that aren't aware, there is a section on Microsoft called Fix It. And Microsoft has a lot of little programs that do a variety of interesting things in relation to Internet Explorer, Windows, media player, Office, and other things. I recently, my function keys quit working on my computer, and went to fix it, and they told me there was a hot fix for it, and you have to go jump through a couple of hoops, and they send you an email with a link, and you click on the link, and lo and behold, my function keys were working again. So, again, not necessarily backup here, but if you have a problem and you think you need to run backup, you might want to try something like this first, because backup can be time-consuming, and sometimes you may get a handful of hair out of your head before you're done. We had the video on this, the backup of Firefox and Thunderbird. It also, as you can see, does Sunbird and Postbox and SeaMonkey and a variety of other things. There are a lot of people in Netscape that use some of those also, so you can back up all of those programs. What hardware can I use? From the internet, places to look, and these are just suggestions. Okay, you can certainly go down to your local Office Depot or Staples store or Best Buy or whatever. But if you want to use the internet, certainly you can use the NEOPC iShopper area and look under computers, and there are some links to places that you can buy some hardware at very reasonable prices, and the club does get a small amount from each sale, which we use to enhance the value of the club for you. So, first place to look. And if you haven't been to iShopper, you need to go there anyhow. But if you're looking for an external drive, and you can click the link on iShopper to get to Tiger Direct. And here is a Miss Santucci portable. And believe it or not, they make 90% of the hard drives used in notebooks. Very rarely do they put anything out under their own name, but it really is a decent piece of equipment. 500 gigabytes, which for some of you will be more than enough, for others won't be near enough. $44.99, pretty reasonable price, and so on. This is a terabyte for $59. And again, these are just suggestions. Tiger has a ton of them to look at, but you also might want to look at Newegg. But here is a DVD rewriter external, so it just plugs into your USB for $20. Free shipping, not bad. Then you got to buy some discs, which again, there are deals out there if you take a look. If you think you want to back up to a flash drive, which is kind of a neat way to do it, these have come down dramatically in price. This is a company that I have purchased from. They are out of China. This one ships from their international warehouse, so it means it's coming out of China, Taiwan, somewhere over there, and takes usually 4 to 5 weeks to get it. Sometimes they'll say from U.S. warehouse, and that usually takes a week. They're both free shipping always, so you got time to think about it. You can even buy some 128 gig flash drives these days at a fairly reasonable price. And again, all these links are available on the forum. So if you want to buy a Blu-ray burner, Amazon has a large selection of them. Asus makes a great one. You're going to spend about $120 is what you're going to spend for a reasonable one. I don't know if you don't have a Blu-ray player connected to your computer and you have a lot of movies for your TV, you may want to invest in one of these. Or you save an awful lot of information. Like I said, you can get between 35 and 50 gigs on one of the discs. They cost about $1 a piece. Pretty cheap storage. So, computers crash. They get dropped. coffee gets dropped on them. A lot of things can hurt the hard drives. Windows has Windows problems. So you reboot. Did that fix it? Now proceed to the next step. And the next step is format hard drive, reinstall Windows. You don't want to do that. That's nightmarish. And sometimes you'll see some of these, and sometimes you can fix from there, and sometimes you can't, but you'll be real glad you have a backup if you happen to see that. And this one says, are you sure you updated the antivirus software? There are some things out there that can trash your hard drive, so backups just make you feel good. This, if this pops up and it says that your computer's been killed by a virus, sure hope you got the backup. We talked about dirt, sludge inside of a computer. You want to crash? I'll show you how to crash. I run into a lot of people that feel that way occasionally. Backup. Virus and malware attacks are dramatically increasing every year, and there is a bunch new things coming down the road. I don't know if you were watching prior to this presentation. I had up on the screen some of the information that's being put out about ransomware in particular. It's not going to get any better, folks, before a while anyhow. If your hard drive is over 3 years old, the chances of a failure are increased by 50%. I've had a lot of computers and used them pretty hard for a long time, and I've only had 5 crashes. First two were traumatic because I didn't have a backup. Hardware and software compatibility issues increase every year, and if your old machine, we were just working with an individual whose old machine had it in this version and it wouldn't go to that version and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's just easier to go from a backup and have at it. Or the old machine crashes, and a lot of reasons. And then finally there is oops, and that's both you and the manufacturer occasionally goes oops, and it's real good when you have a backup when that happens. So, backup. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, certainly post them on the forum. And we'll be glad to help you with them.